Hello, I'm your host Ethan, and this is Porfiro, a radio show hosted by WMHD.
Antigone brings a typewriter with her when she comes back from teaching today. It makes quite a thump when she sets it on the table.
What's that for?
Work. I'm typing up someone else's paper.
Is that cheating? For them, I mean.
Of course not, kid. I get the work through the chem department. People write their papers by hand first and then give them to the department. Then the department finds people to type them up. I don't usually land such jobs, but today there were a lot available.
Oh. Can I do that?
What, get another campus job? Good luck. Students usually get first dibs on those. Usually students with seniority or favors to call in. I didn't work any campus jobs until I'd been here almost 4 years. Except grading, of course.
Why grading?
Shit, kid, how do you not know after doing it? Grading is awful. Like pulling your soul out of your mouth with your own hands. Nobody with seniority or favors to call in is going to grade.
That evening, Martin takes you inside and all the dishes come running over. You're getting used to them. You pick one up and it snuggles into your hand. Aww.
So, kid, I don't mean to pry, but you seem awfully young to be a student.
Uh-oh. You've been a little worried that he'd bring this up. You actually prepared a few responses to this situation. But now that it's arrived, you've struggled to recall them.
Yeah.
You dredge up one response that you concocted while trying to sleep in the library.
I had the wasting disease when I was a baby. They think it messed me up so that I don't get everything out of food that I'm supposed to.
Well, that's actually true. It doesn't make you look younger than you are, though. But maybe if you fall silent now, you'll kind of be able to imply that? The cup you're holding starts to wriggle out of your grip. You put it down, and a bunch of the others surge forward to compete for its place in your arms. You study Martin. Is he buying this? He's frowning. From sympathy or suspicion, you're not sure. Well, better bring out the big guns, just to be safe.
And my parents had the wasting disease at the same time I did. They died. It was a super terrible way to go.
Oh, ouch. Wow, that feels horrible. You've never used your parents' deaths for shock value before. Looks like it's working, though. Martin's expression has gone very soft.
That must have been so hard.
Well, you were a 1-year-old, so you don't remember if it was hard or not, but...
Yeah, it definitely was. My parents didn't really have any friends or family who survived.
His expression softens further. A fat lump of guilt settles in your lungs and catches on fire.
Fuck, kid, I'm sorry.
Ah, it burns.
Well, it wasn't so bad. I got to know the people from the church and stuff, and I think they took good care of me. There was one lady in particular. Her name was Julia. I pretty much lived with her until I was 12.
Until you were 12?
Well, she was old. She passed away, you know?
Ah, there's so much sympathy in his expression you think your conscience might incinerate you. You feel the urge to confess and you fight it. You want to hide under the sofa and wait for your sense of shame to dull. But instead, you have to stand here bearing Martin's gaze. In your guilt-addled state, it seems to be one of saintly compassion. You quickly lose the battle within.
But, actually, Martin, I guess maybe I've been just a little misleading.
He raises his eyebrows and your face gets hot. Great. It's probably a really embarrassing shade of red.
I'm not a student. I mean, I'm obviously studying with you, but I don't go to the university. I'm 15.
He furrows his brow. Is he mad? Gearing up to get mad? Damn it, what will you tell Johnny if he throws you out? You wait in suspense for him to speak.
Oh, okay. What are you doing here then?
I grade for the chemistry department.
His brow furrows more. Ah, what does that mean? You let a silence fall, hoping he'll fill it. No such luck.
I kinda used to go to this Catholic school on the other side of the city, but I ran away. Because I was bored?
He cracks a nervous smile.
I, okay. Does your family know where you are? Are you, I don't know, safe?
My family's dead. But the school knows where I am, and I stay out of trouble.
Oh, duh, of course. I'm sorry.
It's fine. I guess I should have been upfront about all this, but I mean, it's such a weird story.
He nods and half smiles and makes an ambiguous gesture with his arms. He wants to hug you? You want him to hug you. You want his forgiveness, his approval, and you want to avoid going back to high school. So you step closer, and after a moment of confusion over whether your left arm goes above his or vice versa, he pulls you close.
It's alright, kid. I get it.
He pats your back and relief floods you. You hug him extra tightly, and then you both pull away.
Why don't we get started?
You nod vigorously and follow him into the dining room.
Hi, kid. You're Porfiro, right? Antigone's grader? She says you've been doing a good job.
Yay!
I'm in her design of experiments class, and I'm her lab partner.
And an excellent one at that.
They trade smiles, and Christopher extends his hand to you.
Really? Thanks! Nice to meet you, by the way.
They dump the contents of their backpacks on the table and plunk down next to each other. Seems like they're friends. They chit-chat and make unintelligible math jokes as they work. But after an hour or two, something seems to come up between them. They get snippy with each other. Your focus, already fragile from boredom, shatters. You tune into their argument.
We should really do the stupid fucking thing over again. Look, I held my hand closer to the bottom left of the paper every time, so there's this big clump of data points with really negative X and Y values. I worried about that.
Antigone, it's fine.
It's not.
Sure it is. You can just flip some of the signs on those values. That way we can be done and go home and eat dinner. What? We're not doing this lab to learn about the fundamental nature of dropping paper clips onto graph paper. The idea was to get random data points as quickly as possible.
Wasn't really random. We positioned our hands the same way every single time.
That's why we should change some of the values.
But that's so dishonest. We said in the procedure description that we were doing this so we could get really random values, so that's what we should do.
Look, Antigone, it's never going to be really random. Really random things might not even exist. We just have to get close enough, which we can do by changing a few signs on those values.
We can't. That's basically lying.
Oh, come on, Antigone. We are not going to drop another 50 paper clips onto graph paper and then record their positions all over again. I'm tired and my parents are visiting tonight. Half of the other groups have probably already fudged their numbers. Let's just flip some of the signs on the negative values and move on.
Antigone gives Christopher a really scary glare. You see all of her bottom teeth.
No, we're not doing that.
Why not?
Because we say in our report that these numbers came from dropping paper clips and measuring where they landed. So we're going to fucking drop paper clips and measure where they fucking land.
Christopher buries his face in his hands. You catch him rolling his eyes as he does so.
Antigone, the point of the lab is definitely not...
You're going to do it with me. Unless you want to become a fucking sellout who lies on their papers like half the other people in this degree factory.
Holy shit. Christopher seems to share this assessment. His eyes bug out and he stands up.
Antigone, I understand if you want to do it over, but like I said, I am not interested. Why don't you come get me when you're done?
And he picks up his stuff.
You ridiculous airy-fairy math majors, completely out of touch. This is what I get for taking cross-disciplinary classes, isn't it?
Wow, Antigone, I guess you're right about me. Don't take it personally, I just can't keep up with your virtuous way of life.
He goes and sits by the seismograph in the middle of the library. Antigone says something incredibly vulgar under her breath. Then she turns on you.
What?
Nothing.
Don't give me that. You've been staring for ages. What?
You were just cutting into him a lot, is all.
Antigone glares at you.
Yeah?
Well, I guess it just came off as judgmental.
So? I wouldn't be so judgmental if people here weren't so stupid.
Your inner Johnny warns of disaster down this line of conversation. You sense major self-righteousness coming from her, and you have no clue how to deal with it. You cast around for a distraction. There! What's that funny-looking thing on the desk between you?
Hey, what's this?
My pen?
No, the book thingy.
Oh, that. It's the Modern Literature Department's monthly publication. I read it all the time.
You continue to point your face in its direction, afraid of what she'll say if you look at her. Eventually, she nudges it toward you.
You can read it, if you like.
You pick it up. Ooh, it's weird. The cover features a pale, hairless man wearing a starry cape. The background is dotted with yellow, red-lidded eyeballs. The man has super long eyelashes and appears to be making out with a microwave oven. You open it up and start reading some weird poem about the Carnelian lady and her love interest, Oliestro. The poem doesn't rhyme, and the capitalization is weird. It seems to be about some sort of sword fight between them, but they're also growing flowers at the same time. And sleeping? You page to the next feature. Oh no, you are not reading this, because this is a metaphor for sex. You are 90% sure. Next feature? An article called On Multitudes. You follow absolutely none of it. Julia used to watch bad movies with you so you could laugh about how terrible they were. She would laugh until she cried if she saw this stuff. Antigone leaves and comes back with a box of paper clips and a sheet of graph paper. Whoa, she actually does drop 50 paper clips and measure where they all land. It takes her like half an hour because she's super meticulous. She looks almost as bored as you feel. Then she stands up and gives you a sad smile.
Well, kiddo, I'm off to talk with my wayward lab partner. Wish me luck.
Good luck. You're still okay with speaking to him?
Of course, kiddo. The students in the math department aren't given much exposure to science as such. You know, we act like dedication is a moral virtue you have or you don't, but really it's more of a skill.
Blah, blah, blah. Holy shit, she's even more boring than grading. You take refuge in your also horribly boring work, and she goes over to Christopher. They both come back to your table. Sadly, there's no more antics to distract you. They seem to have made nice. You like to think that you're a disciplined person, but your discipline is no match for the grading. All Friday, you battle procrastination and lose spectacularly. You're only done with a quarter of your work by the end of the day. But it's really Antigone's fault. She told you at the beginning of Friday that you could wrap up your work on Saturday if you needed. Can you honestly be blamed for getting nothing done after an announcement like that? Of course not. She's there on Saturday when you show up, reading poetry and working on a lab by turns. At lunchtime, she volunteers to get you potato starch porridge from the drugstore. She eats the same for basically every meal, apparently. You take her up on the offer. While she's gone, Carmen walks into the library. She smiles and comes over to you.
Hey there, Porfiro. How are you? Hang in there. I know it's horrible to work weekends.
She touches your shoulder and a brief silence falls.
So, what brings you here?
I have a meeting nearby soon.
Oh, on Saturday?
She nods and smiles sadly. After a moment, Antigone comes back with 2 servings of miserable gray goop. Given the nastiness of the food she's carrying, you're surprised to see her break into a warm smile.
Carmen, long time no see.
She rushes over and drops the bowls onto your table. The women hug. When they pull apart, Antigone's holding Carmen by the elbows.
This is a beautiful coat. I love the way that it falls on you.
Thank you. It was a gift from Martin.
Really, I didn't know he had an eye for such things.
Well, it took some prompting.
Have you been looking after yourself?
Of course. And you?
Well, not really, but what more can you expect?
Oh, sweetheart, you poor thing.
They hug tighter, then pull apart. Carmen seems to remember you're there.
I used to study chemistry, too. It's a very small world here. You end up friends with everyone, sooner or later.
Friends or enemies?
Indeed. Hey, I have a meeting to attend. I'll see you 2 later, okay?
You all say your goodbyes, and she disappears into the bookshelves. Antigone sits next to you and gives you a look of concern.
What?
Carmen seems tired today, don't you think?
Not really.
You don't think she looks, I don't know, run down?
Maybe? I think that's just how she looks.
Antigone frowns, but shrugs. You pick up your pen and grab an exam to start grading it. But you run out of steam before you finish reading the first problem.
Did Carmen used to look really different or something?
No, it's just... Carmen is a good woman. She ought to live forever, like in the fairy tales. I don't like to see her like that. She helped me on my junior thesis, you know?
Really?
She smiles fondly, then shakes her head.
Poor her.
Why poor? I mean, getting old sounds crappy, but the other option is dying, right?
It's not that. It's very few technical people want to be department heads. It's a lot of responsibility on your plate, and the work it requires isn't really your kind of work.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
So, Carmen doesn't get to do magic anymore?
No, she does. Carmen's working about 3 different people's jobs. Martin, too.
Yeah. He says there aren't enough magicians anymore.
Antigone nods gravely and turns her attention to her icky bland lunch. She starts saying grace. You, sad to see that she's no longer available as a source of distraction, do the same.
Thank you for listening. This episode of Porfiro was written and directed by Joy Stockwell Carpenter. Script editing by Nicholas Carpenter. Beta reading by Rhea Carlson and Alyssa Russell. Audio post-production by Ethan Townsend and Joy Stockwell Carpenter. Narrated by Natalie Beatty. This episode featured Eli Fritz as Porfiro, Anastasia Zellner as Antigone, Riley Valier as Martin, Ethan Townsend as Christopher, and Alyssa Russell as Carmen.